tools give you the confidence.
Well, wait, my I apologize. My tab's unmuted. I'm like, why am I hearing music? Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sci-Fi-Vision for our special edition of Revival Redux, where we have our guest, Romy Weltman, who plays M on Revival. And of course, my co-host Laurie's here, and AJ's also joining us today to help us get our questions in. If you have any questions for Romy, and it is Romy, right? Your co-host said Romy. I just want to make sure it's Romy. I'm saying it correctly, right?
No, it's actually Romy, but it's all
Romy. Okay. Well, David said Romy, so I'm blaming David. You can tell him I'm blaming him. Okay. Well, if you have questions for Romy, you can put them in the chat, and we will ask them to her. But first, well, thank you for being here. Appreciate the time that you're going to spend with us tonight. We all love the show, so thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So to start out, since you were saying a little bit ago that when we did the interviews before, you didn't talk about being a reviver. So talk about what it's like, I don't know, playing somebody who's come back to life and just kind of overall the experience of that.
Yeah, because we got to talk before the show came out. It's so cool playing somebody with kind of these two vastly different storylines. That's what I think is one of the coolest parts, is there's kind of M pre-revival day and then post-revival day M, or reviver M, or back to life M, whatever you want to call it. But I think the most interesting thing about M is the fact that she didn't even know she was a reviver right away. Obviously took her noticing to notice, and just like the mental battle of everything that she's dealing with and going through, and the fact that now she used to deal with so much through drugs and through avoidance, and now she just doesn't have the same opportunity to use the same vices as she used to. So I think it was just very cool kind of getting to explore her with the scripts that were given and kind of just dive right in, while diving kind of back and forth as well between past and present.
Right, fair enough. How did you get the role? Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I love telling this story because I originally auditioned for Kay, which is M's roommate, the fun roommate. I got that audition in, I think, like end of May, beginning of June. And then I got an email basically saying that they're still searching for M Cypress for Revival, even though it was filming in about a week's time. And I kind of thought to myself, there's no way, I'll just throw it on tape and hope for the best. In my industry, we just do so many auditions and you don't always hear back. And I just tried not to think about it too much because I really did love the writing. And really quickly, within like a day of submitting my tape, I was asked if I had any more footage from certain TV shows that I've done, and one of them hadn't been released yet, so I couldn't give them what they were looking for. So then they asked just to quickly go on tape for 10 more pages, 2 more scenes, one of which was the scene with Rhodey in episode 3, and one of which was the scene with Dana when we're discussing everything and after the Den of Doom in episode 2. So basically just going quickly with those. And then I got an email being like, hey, would you be down to shave the side of your head and chop off a couple inches? And my answer is usually yes. I'm always a yes man when it comes to that stuff. Obviously I have other people to involve in certain discussions and conversations. And that was a big topic of conversation. But within that, it was just a quick yes. And let's get started. So it was kind of interesting because it was all virtual and self-taping, and I didn't get to meet anyone before I actually got there.
That makes it hard. All right. Well, I do want to ask you about the hair, but let me first let Laurie and AJ get a chance there. Laurie, do you want to ask a question?
Well, M is a really complex character, and I was just wondering, what qualities do you admire about playing her?
I love M's resilience. I have never met a more resilient person than M. I just think the way that she comes back from every situation is so admirable, and the way that she can take something. I think the way that she's been made to feel so small her entire life, and now that she's kind of living it big and finally not listening to the people that were constantly putting her into this tiny little box. I think that's the most admirable thing about M, is that she's willing to learn from her own mistakes, and she's ready to make those mistakes and just grow and keep coming back stronger and stronger, physically and mentally.
How did you prepare for the role? Because it is such a demanding role. I mean, she has this health issue where she has brittle bone disease. She developed a pain addiction because of oxycodone. She was depressed. She really had a very hard life, and she was struggling. How did you prepare for the role? It's a very heavy role.
Yeah, it really is, especially when you really list everything all in one go. The big thing for me is just recognizing that also all humans are complex too. We all have layers. I think we're all kind of onions that we just don't always get to see every layer of. I'm definitely one person with people and then another person behind closed doors. But for me, the most important thing was to do a bunch of research on OI and also research on drug addiction, just to make sure that everything was portrayed accurately and that people saw representation on their screens and that they felt like I obviously did my due diligence and looked into everything. So that was just very important to me. I'm staring at it, but it's far. I have a journal that I brought with me to New Brunswick that kind of has all of my research from before I even got there in there. And then it kind of turned into M's journal through Romy's eyes. So that really did get me through a lot. And that's where I mapped everything out, emotional relationships. I have like a whole page of mine and Dana's relationship, Em and Dana's relationship, to kind of match where they're progressively getting stronger together, where maybe Em's getting scared because Dana's seeing too much of her. All of these things. Same with Rhodey, same with Wayne. So that journal that I'm staring at is my pride and joy, and just something that I kind of don't want to open since I've gotten home, but I will have to look back at one day. But the research was very big for me.
That's great.
All right, AJ.
Did you have any knowledge of the comic before being cast? And if not, have you read it since?
My answer to this question is usually the same, because I do mean it, that both it's very unfortunate, but I think fortunate. I did not know about the comic beforehand. I had no knowledge of it. I wasn't really immersed in the graphic novel and horror life when I was younger, other than from an actor's perspective. I was very scared of everything until I got on set and learned that it's all fake. But basically, I kind of got to read it while we were filming, which was sort of the best thing, because I got to learn about M while learning about M through the script as well. But I have read it and I love it, and it's great.
Let me ask now. I know this was Scarlett's question. You started talking about it. So you cut your own hair for the show, then you shaved it. I kind of wondered that too.
Yes, that's real. That was very real. It's growing back. It's coming in.
Oh, kind of. Yeah, it's getting there.
It's also fully straight right now. I can't.
Did you just, I mean, why did you decide to do it so you felt like you were more, I guess, her, or did you just not care? I'm just curious, like, what was behind the idea of actually like not using a wig or whatever?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it wasn't too big of a discussion in terms of, it was kind of just like, will you do it? And I was sort of game for it right away. But it's funny, I've asked about that. I just don't think with time, we had enough time to sew in a headpiece that would be shaved, and with the wig it would be the same. So instead we decided to reverse it and do the after. So for the first few episodes with the long hair and the bangs, that's a wig that Dan Campbell made, and he's just remarkably talented. And a part of it kind of, for me, I'm going to be honest, Jamie, I really wanted to do this when I was in grade 8. I begged my mom to let me shave the side of my head and or do an undercut and underneath, and I wanted to do a little star. She said no, not because my parents aren't super supportive, but because she was so supportive, and she's like, you're an actor and you're on I was doing a kid show at the time. I was about to do a kid show at the time, so she was like, I don't think this is the time for you to be doing this. So I was just really excited. I kind of got to live out that dream. And also, it's so rare in my industry that I'm just able to kind of change up my look on my own. So when a character does call for it, I just think that's so exciting. I've always wanted to dye my hair like blue for a funky character, and then just the thought of shaving it was even cooler. And then the cutting hair, my hair was much longer than it is now. At the time, I think we must have cut off, 5 inches. That one was more, I was very game for, just because I love chopping my hair. I do think hair holds memories. There's something really nice about not having a lot to deal with in the morning. And I also, it's just so refreshing and simple. I'm also very lucky, I will say. My hair grows fast. I do have that perk in life. So I wasn't as panicked. And my friends joke that if they had my hair growth, they wouldn't panic as much either.
I don't know. I think I'd panic no matter what, shaving part of my hair. I go colored, but I don't know about shaving it. I don't even like to trim it, to be fair. So
Okay, but the best thing is, so AJ, I see that you have shorter hair. You know, after you get a cut and you just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best feeling ever. Like I just love all the time. My hair would be in a bun or something if I was sitting at home, and I would just be like this. It's so nice and also refreshing. But we did film some scenes outside with the side shave in the winter, and that also made me realize how cold it is on your scalp.
yeah, your hair does keep you warm. You don't
Yes.
realize it.
You really do not realize until it's not there.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the chat. We have let me see which one. This Matthew Valtor, who said he was there in St. John and helped work on the show. So very cool. What was your favorite thing about filming in New Brunswick?
My favorite thing about filming in New Brunswick, by the way, hi Matt, nice to see you. You can see me, I can't see you. But it's nice to hear from you. What was my favorite part about filming in St. John? Oh, what was my favorite set to film on?
He asked both things, so there you go. You can.
Sorry. So favorite set to film on, I can't talk about yet, so I won't say. Favorite set so far that you've seen is probably the barn from episode 1 and 2. I just thought there was a barn dog named Teddy that just ran around, and he was the cutest thing in the entire world. So that set. And then my favorite thing about filming in St. John is the fact that it's not often you get to travel for work. But luckily in my industry, it kind of is part of it. And I just think getting to immerse yourself in some place different and get to learn about how other people are living their lives is so awesome. And New Brunswick, St. John, New Brunswick specifically, is just like such a perfect little small town. And I felt like I really kind of created my own roots there for 3 months. And I had my own little daily routine, specifically going to Catapult Coffee every morning. So those were the best parts.
All right. Laurie,
How do you unwind after a hard day on the set?
Long shower. Like always a long shower. It's kind of the first thing I do, especially when I was in the wig, I had lots and lots of French braids in my hair for underneath the wig. So getting that out and like massaging my head was really nice. But when my hair is natural and shaved and stuff like that, there's a lot of like gel and wax in my hair to make it look kind of dirty and greasy. So that stuff, I really always kind of want to just get that out of my hair and just take a really long shower and kind of wash off me to some degree.
Right.
And then I also got really into Dancing with the Stars when I was in April. I'll tell you, because I usually watch very dark TV and like sci-fi stuff and horror stuff, but when I was there, I honestly just didn't have it in me to be watching such dark type of content when I was coming home from that. And I did have M's mindset in my mind, which is a bit of an actory thing to say, but it's true when you're living in that for so long. So I really just tried hard, if I was consuming, to just be consuming like light TV. However, I did not expect Dancing with the Stars to make me cry every week. Never really Dancing with the Stars well.
You thought it would be fun, and you're crying.
I think I was so emotionally just giving everything that when I saw people doing the same, I was like, nobody should go home today. I need everyone to stay.
Everybody should win.
Everyone should get 10s. I would be a horrible judge on the show. But that's kind of how I like to unwind, is just kind of reminding myself, Romy's here. It's not all dark and whatnot. And
self-care is so important, especially, when you're having a rough day, or, you're portraying a character that's pretty heavy. There's a lot going on. So, like, do you ever light candles? You said you like journaling. Do you journal?
I do journal. I did journal quite a bit when we were filming, but I found that I was journaling more from an M perspective versus a Romy perspective. So I didn't always find that the best way to kind of like decompress after a day. But I found it great when I was doing script work for sure.
Okay.
For me, candles, yes. what? I forget the brand, and I think I ran out of it. But I bought this beautiful candle that's called Cinnamon Bun.
Oh,
Like from a local shop, and I lit that a lot. I like to make grilled cheese and just like tomato soup. That's kind of my version of
so
self-care.
now you're making me hungry, Romy.
I love food all the time. That's all I'll talk about. But that's kind of the self-care. Also, sometimes like a face mask, something just simple, but that you feel like you're doing for yourself.
Mhm.
Always nice. I did do there was a beautiful yoga studio not far from where I was staying, so I did yoga a couple times. Mel and Paige joined me a few times. Mark Little, I know, went a bunch, who plays Brent. So he told me that it wasn't hot yoga though. And I go there and I'm like dripping sweat. I've only done yoga, not hot yoga. And I go to Mark the next day. I'm like, something's off. Something's not right if you don't think that's hot. And then he told me, oh, I went this morning. They fixed the heating. I was like,
oh, okay. See, there's a reason why I'm dripping with sweat.
a real reason. But that's all just like ways. And honestly, another thing that I missed out was like, sometimes this is really great and sometimes it's not the best after a long day, but just calling your family members, like calling the people back home, reminding yourself what life is outside of work is always nice. Sometimes it's not always the most helpful because you have so much to catch up on that you can't always give somebody your time or they can't give you their time. So by the time that your schedules are lining up, but when it does work, I love calling my parents or my partner or my sister and just catching up.
Nice.
All right, AJ.
I love the dynamic between Em and Dana. Who did you most enjoy working with on the show?
It's like asking someone to pick their favorite child.
Okay, hey.
You know, I mean, look, I'm wearing this shirt
right.
now, so I'll say Mel because big sister, you know, she's so cool. Favorites for different reasons. I'll list a few. I didn't always get to work with everyone. Em is more on her own journey and with different people. I have a soft spot for Mel, of course. Andy McQueen is also just like the first person that I met on set and got really close with, so he's always special. Then I love working with Caleb and MJ, who plays Kay, and Caleb plays Rhodey. Just everyone is kind of... Stephen Ogg is crazy incredible. Now that people know I was in a scene with him, I can talk about that. Like, that was a surreal experience. So I can't pick a favorite. David, I don't know. That's just family, you know?
I know what you mean. I have 3 kids, and people ask. I was like, I don't have a favorite child, but I have favorite things about them. You know?
Yeah, like sometimes you want...
So I know what you mean.
Exactly. You know, I didn't even say Hunter. I didn't even say Cooper. Hudson. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't even say Hudson, who's also just so much fun to work with. Hudson and Flora as a duo are always fun also. So.
All right. Now, Kimberly asked, and everybody else is wanting to know too, since you said you like dark and sci-fi stuff, have you watched From? Most of the people who are in our chat are probably originally from our From show and love that show.
So please don't spoil anything for me because this is why. I actually just got into the series. I've seen episodes sporadically because I know a couple of actors on the show who I'm very big fans of and good friends of. And I just know that it's an incredible environment and people love working on that show. And what I was going to say is, funny enough, when we were filming Revival, because so many people on our show had worked on From as well, and we're giving the same vibes in terms of horror genre, everyone was watching From on our series while we were filming. So everyone would come and talk about it, and I'd be like, I don't want to hear anything because I know I really want to watch it, but also tell me everything because they're such talented actors and I love to hear it. But I couldn't watch it while we were filming, so it's too much to get into and a little dark, but I have actually started it and I am a huge fan and everyone is incredible on that show. And I'm just like, the people that I know only have the best things to say. So I can't wait. I know they're filming a new season now and I just can't wait.
Time to catch up before the new season, right?
That's exactly it. You always got to, actually, no, you should always watch shows from the start so you can be a part of the fan base from the start. But it is nice.
Good answer there. Yeah, that's true.
Are you on the first season of From?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like, don't say anything, because I kind of know sort of spoilers. Also, my TikTok page has definitely turned into like a Fromily type of situation. Like they know I'm watching From. So I've seen things I shouldn't see. And that's why I'm like, I can't talk about it because I know. It's kind of like watching Game of Thrones, which is something that I also really want to do at this point in my life that I haven't done. I'm like, I know everything, but I still know I'll enjoy it.
Yes, you will.
So what I wanted to ask you, and I know you can't spoil it, but there is some action stuff coming up in the show. So talk about sort of just filming those kind of scenes, and do you enjoy that kind of thing? You don't have to tell what they're about. You could just talk about, filming action scenes.
So there's two parts of that. There's one part that I love, and it's just like, it's a day where kind of everyone is there. Everyone's around. Our stunt coordinator. See, that's another person that I love work with. Our directors also, I can't choose. But Max White, who is our stunt coordinator, he's just unbelievable. And he taught me so much. And he just like really allowed me to explore. And as somebody who's 5'1" and a bit more on the petite side, I've worked on productions where they're just not as interested in letting me do things because it's a liability, and that makes complete sense. That's totally okay. But on this one, what I did love is they kind of needed my face for a bunch of it. So they were like, we need to figure out how to make it work with Romy. And I just got to learn so much. And then on the flip side of things, from TV creation perspectives, is those days are the longest. They really are. It's usually just a day dedicated to what you have to get done. And if you can get more stuff done, great. But a stunt day is always a very big day. I can talk a little bit about the bar fight. That was really, really cool and fun. And it was kind of just crazy because you're going from being covered in blood to then wiping off the blood so that you can kind of get that first hit again. So that was crazy. And then another experience that I could talk about was that Caleb and I, who plays Rhodey, in episode 3, we were actually harnessed onto a bridge. So that was a very surreal experience. And in terms of that, I was a little spooked from the heights. Same thing with the other bridge where you see me at the beginning in flashbacks from the night of Revival Day or Revival Night. But those were long, really fun, physically draining, but rewarding days. It's kind of just the days where everyone's so zoned in.
All right, cool. Laurie?
Well, I have a heavy question. The last episode, I mean, for those who've seen the last episode, it aired already, where Dana was shot in the end, and everybody was floored by it. Now, we know the character M, she was driving a car when her mom died. I'm just wondering, do you think this is going to bring up those feelings for her where she'll be, kind of traumatized by it, and she'll kind of relive her mom's death in a way? I mean, I know you can't really talk about it, but do you think that's a process that Emma's going to have to go through?
That's such a good question. I think M has a lot to process right now. I think Revival Day, it's a great way that you put it. I think that Revival Day has a lot to do with her mom as well. I mean, there's kind of a survivor's guilt of how come I came back, but my mom didn't. I think that's a really difficult thing to navigate, especially when M's mom was her place. Like, that was her safe space growing up. Do I think this will bring stuff back? I think that's always there. As we've been able to see with M, she hasn't dealt with that at all. That's because she's just been able to numb her pain for so long and avoid dealing with it. So we are watching her deal with emotions for the first time, which is what's crazy. And I think watching anyone, I mean, she's supposed to be the vulnerable one in the family. So seeing anyone that you love in pain, and just any strong person in your life showing any vulnerability, I mean, it humanizes them greatly, and it makes you see so much, but it's hard. It's really hard. Like, even my big sister, she'd kill me if I said this because she doesn't cry a lot because she's such a strong person. But when she does cry, I've seen it, and it's heartbreaking. Like, nothing breaks my heart more than when my big sister cries, because that's so unlike her. So I think naturally, like, everyone's reaction when Dana was shot, I mean, on Twitter or on X, was crazy. It was just like, and then a lot of people had interesting concepts of like, maybe this is M's time to also step up and be the big sister that she's wanted to be. So which way she'll go, I don't know. I guess we'll have to
Yeah,
wait and see. I mean, I do know.
because Em was so sheltered, and she was made to feel like she couldn't do anything and that she was weak. And now she has a chance to be strong and to live the life that she wants to live. So in a way, it's kind of strange that she had to die to like really live her life now, right? It's like a dichotomy.
The irony for me is that I had to die to feel alive, and that's
Right.
really, Aaron and Luke told me that they that line is really what they wrote M's story surrounding, and it's such a good point of what you said also, and I think that it's probably another element of fear, that the one person that knows what she's going through and the one person that understands and has her back and wants to be there for her might not be able to be there for her in the same way as well. So I think that will be a very interesting thing to navigate for M.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, AJ?
So what do you prefer filming? Straight horror or something like Revival, which is considered horror, but it, it also has that sci-fi and mystery element to it?
Ooh, I love it all. I mean, I guess I would have to say sci-fi because it kind of, you get it all in one go. So what's not to love about that? I think with M, for the most part, we're staying in the darker world. So I feel like maybe that's just what I'm always picturing. But then I love, from a consumer standpoint, especially, like I love the sci-fi world. I'm watching with my family, and they're not big horror people, to be super honest. And they were a little nervous about getting into Revival. They are hooked. They do not stop asking me questions. I've never had them love something I've been in so much. And it's incredible, because they're loving the family story, they're loving the humor, they're loving the mystery, the murder mystery. I think is a huge, crazy like element to have. So I guess they all have their moments, but I guess why not choose the one that has them all in one? If you could get like a 2-scoop ice cream, I'd choose that over 1 scoop.
All right. Samuel says, were you underwater for the underwater scene, or was that computer generated?
I was underwater.
Or in a different way, I guess.
I was underwater. A little bit of both. So there was a green screen for the jump. I did jump off the bridge, but we reversed it and we put a bunch of mats down. And so that, like, kind of, when I say to myself, just live a little, in episode 3, a friend of mine texted me being like, that was so Romy. And I was like, yeah, because I was actually telling myself to live a little so I could actually jump and do that. So that stuff was generated and done with a green screen and looks unbelievable. But the actual hitting the water, we did film that, which I'd love to talk more about. But it was just a crazy, crazy experience. And it's really fun to do water work and very different than anything I've ever done before. So I'm really happy that you asked that question.
It's a fun scene. I'm gonna pull a couple more from the chat here. I starred some of them. Okay. Justin said, with 1 being not at all and 10 being you're that person, how much do you personally relate to M? Would you hang out with her in real life if she asked?
Okay, I love that second question. Would I hang out with her in real life if she asked? Yeah. I mean, depends. I'm going to be honest here for 1 second. Depends which M we're talking about. If we're talking about M that's looking to get into trouble and is doing stuff, I mean, a part of me wants to say yes, but we run in very different scenes. I want to stay home. I just want to lay in bed all day. So I would be a little bit nervous of what M could wrap me into. I would be she feels like she could be somebody dangerous in that sense. But I would love to hang out with her as well, because I think she's a very down-to-earth person. I don't think M is going to tell you anything you just want to hear. I think she's going to tell you the way it is. And I think that's something that I have in common with her. On a scale from 1 to 10, I want to say like a 7. A 7. There's a lot of elements about M that aren't me, but I think I have to lean more towards a 10 being the most, because I think I bring a lot of myself to M. I think that's part of my interpretation of her. I think she reminds me a lot of myself growing up, more so in high school and the beginning of high school. I'm the youngest in my family. I I feel like as a young woman for so long, from other people, I was told that I couldn't do certain things, and I did believe them. And it took me a long time to decide to take my life into my own hands and show myself what I can do and prove things to myself. But I've learned a lot about myself through M. So I want to go for a 7, maybe a 6. I feel like the showrunners would probably say a 5, but I'm going to go with a 6, 7. M is really, to answer that question wholeheartedly, Justin, M, I always say M is me behind closed doors. M is the version of me that not a lot of people see, but I can be very introverted. I am more introverted than extroverted. I want my headphones on. I want my journal in front of me, and I want to just be chilling. So I think that's kind of that.
So it makes it easier for you to relate to her.
Yes, obviously in a lot of ways I also can't, but I have connections. So I think that's the most important thing with characters.
I was going to ask you, are there any parts of her that you've had trouble like really connecting with that took longer?
Maybe later in the season. I think I thought things were harder to connect to than they actually were, is what I'll say for now.
All right.
I'm sorry. I wish I could answer that one.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But I do think that relatively I understood. But obviously I do want to say that also just in terms of things going on and how people deal with things is so different and unique. So M does deal with things differently than Romy does, but I can understand the core feeling for the most part.
All right. Let me pull one more fan question and then Laurie, I'll let you go. I know you said you didn't read comic books and graphic novels before. Do you since read them or not really a lot? Because otherwise, I have a question for Scarlett, but it's not going to be relevant anyway, because she wanted to know what your favorite comic books and graphic novels were.
Revival.
Read them, besides
Revival and Archie comics.
All right,
those were the comics that I read growing up, and Mel. And then we recently found out in an interview together that there are like killer Archie comics too, and I haven't looked into it, but I have to.
Yeah, that I don't know about. I don't know about
that one for sure.
All right, go ahead, Laurie.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you something more about you, not Rome, not about Romy, not M. What is the most exotic place you've traveled to?
Ooh. Maybe Greece is what I would say. I mean, I went to Australia this year as well. That was crazy. That was a very unique experience. That's a long trip, though. Very long trip.
Now, where in Greece did you go? Did you go to the islands or the mainland?
I went to Mykonos for one night, which was very beautiful. But the place that I went to that I really loved and made me fall in love with Greece was we went to a few places, but I think that was just like a place that really stuck with me was Paros, which is a very small island where everyone kind of just knows each other, and it's so sweet. And I met the sweetest people who just every restaurant you walk into, they're like their family. They just want to immerse you and they want to teach you. Like I learned how olive oil was made by an owner in a restaurant. He was like, "Do you like the olive oil?" And I went, "Yeah." And then he just told me the story and showed me photos of his olive garden and all this stuff. And I was just freaking out. So just in terms of that, I think it was just the most beautiful place that I've been to that wasn't my home, that I felt most at home.
So you like to immerse yourself in the culture?
Yeah, of course, as much as you can. Also, like, I'm so sorry, Laurie, this is going back to food, but the food there is just crazy. I know you said I was making you hungry.
No, I was kidding though. I was in Greece also. Greece is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I really would love to go back and see more because it was such a quick trip because we were doing so much. But Paros, just even in the island of Paros, there's so many mini little islands that you can go to as well. So I just think that's really cool.
Well, what island is it near? Is it near Mykonos?
I don't think it's far.
Okay.
Because everything is a ferry ride. But I know we did take one really long ferry, but I can't remember if that was just back to Athens for the airport. And there was one ferry ride that we took that was crazy. Like I had never been on a ferry like this, and they were handing out bags to people, and it was just crazy because we were rocking.
Yeah, it's very choppy, the waters. There is an island called Delos, which is near Mykonos.
Ooh.
That's where all the ruins are. So I don't. I guess you didn't make it. You didn't go there, right? No. Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was actually I hopped on a friend's trip last minute, so I had nothing to do with the planning.
Okay.
But I wasn't mad about it. I'm definitely more of a go with the flow than a planner type of person, anyway.
So what is your next trip going to be? Have you thought about where you want to go?
Okay, I'm gonna sound crazy, but ironically, my partner and I were talking about potentially going to Greece because he has never been there. And because I don't stop talking about it. But I'm also hopefully going to be going to South Africa in 2026.
Nice.
I have family from there. My parents are originally from there. They were raised there. So I still have family there. And a cousin of mine is getting married. So hopefully I can make it to the wedding. And that would be crazy. That's a really exciting trip that I've been once when I was younger and I don't have many memories of it. So I would just love to go and see my family and see where my parents grew up.
That's great.
AJ?
I hope you make it. I hope you go.
Me too. I guess the only reason would be work if we didn't. So not a bad
Right.
reason.
AJ?
In my experience, the food is always better in Europe.
So is the coffee.
Yeah.
So we saw you play young Rin at the age when you were the age of 12 on Defiance. How did that come about, and what was the audition process like? And is it very different now that you're older and more known?
Oh, that's such a flashback. That audition process, I actually feel like was yesterday because I have such a clear memory of it. I just started acting. It was 2012. My mom I think she actually ironically was back in South Africa visiting family. And so my dad was taking me to auditions for the first time. This was like back in the day when auditions were also in rooms. So it is very different now. And it was a Sunday. And I had 3 auditions randomly as a kid, and they were all for like 3 bigger things. And the first audition I had did not go well. And I cried. And then I went to my Defiance audition where they originally had us all reading for young Iris, and I cried so easily. So sad for my first audition. And she was crying in the scene, and the casting director was like, "Wow, how did you do that?" And little me in my head is like, "I'm just so sad from earlier," but I didn't say that, of course. And then a week later, or not even a week, like a few days later, I got a call back, and then my dad was like, "Wow, I'm really driving my kid all over the city. This is crazy." And he was very new to this and didn't know. And he always was just like, he always laughs about this because there were 3 girls that looked identical in a room. There were 3 of us there for the final callback. I was the last girl to go in. And then the casting director came out, Lisa Parison. She's so sweet. She said something very nice to my dad. They were chatting for a bit. I ended up getting the role, which was very exciting. But then within like 24 hours, I was in an optometrist getting yellow contacts sized for my eyes. So my dad was like, "Why were there 3 girls that look the exact same if they were just going to make you look so different?" So he was just really fascinated by that concept of just the industry in general. But that process was relatively different just because it was all in person back in the day. And we were going in person for like 2-page scenes, very quick in and out scenes. And now I find as an adult, my auditions, I'm getting called in more for specific things that casting knows that I'm capable of or knows where to put me. Where I was younger, I think it was a matter of finding where I fit.
Cool.
I think you kind of answered this when you're talking before about the play in the area, but what was your favorite scene? Do you have another favorite scene there?
Hi, Mike. I know Mike.
I'm like, I know that name, but
Mike. Favorite scene to film. My favorite scene to film would probably be the scene with Melanie in episode 1, which was in the car. Clearly a huge Melanie fan, but it was the one in the car where we're kind of just talking about everything and eating donuts. That was the first scene I had ever read from the script because that was my first original audition scene. And it was the final scene that Mel and I had shot together because we did all the car scenes later on. So I just found that like really getting to know Mel and playing off her in that moment was kind of just a full circle moment. I did eat one too many donuts though, and it ruined donuts for a bit for me. Really did.
At least you didn't have to keep eating them for a scene. I've seen people get grossed out because they have to keep eating and spitting things.
So that's what Mel was like, why aren't you just spitting it out? And I was like, because I'm talking to you while I'm chewing. I kind of have time to spit it out.
We're supposed to pause and spit, I think.
I know. I was like, can we do that? Is that an option? 5 donuts later, I was like, it's not working. She did the same thing with Pop-Tarts one day, though, because I have a clear memory of Mel coming to film EPK going, I had one too many Pop-Tarts today. I was a kid and I'm allowed them now and it's too nice. So
You guys have such great chemistry on the show. Offset, are you as close as that?
no, she hates me. No, I'm kidding. She hates me. No, of course. She texted me today actually saying, when are you coming over? Yes, we have a great relationship off screen.
Great.
She's honestly like another big sister to me. She why I also have just such a soft spot for her and Andy McQueen is because I just felt like in New Brunswick when I was there alone and they had people with them, they really went out of their way to just like bring me into their families and make sure that I knew I had people to look to if I needed anyone. And with that, I got really close with Mel and her husband and her 2 kids and her dog. Like I just really got to love their family and feel a part of it. And same with Andy and his wife and their dog. So anywhere a dog is, I'm happy. But Mel's really, really incredible. And from day one, she went out of her way to make sure that I felt comfortable and safe. And I knew I had somebody to look to and turn to. And she's continuously that person for me.
That's great.
Who's someone you want to have more scenes with? Because you talk about loving everybody, but who's somebody you maybe didn't get to work with as much?
You know, I actually don't work a lot with David, my own dad in the show. Ironically,
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
yeah, no wonder he gets my name wrong.
Because I purposely went back and watched that video. I'm like, I don't want to get it wrong. I'm like, because I thought it was Romy, but I listened to it.
It's okay. Honestly, I have also I had a principal of my middle school call me Romy for 4 years. So it's so fun. I'm very immune to it. But I'm very, very immune to it. But I would love, I just think the Cypress family scenes are always fun. If you could get us 3 in one room, would be happy. I just think that it's really fun working with the family dynamics. And I don't think we got to see enough of Wayne and M's dynamics, but I think that says everything about their dynamic too. I think it makes complete sense that we don't see a lot of them because of their relationship. But just selfishly, I would always love to work with seasoned pros and learn from them. So I'd probably say, I would probably say Wayne Cypress without giving much away.
All right. Let's see. Brennan says, what's your morning routine on set?
My morning routine on set starts with a coffee. Big coffee, usually taken from the hair and makeup trailer because they have an espresso in there and it's really good coffee. So I usually go in there, and then honestly, if I'm wearing a wig, I'm straight in my wardrobe on set. No time for anything else other than wardrobe so that I don't ruin the wig when I'm putting my clothing on. However, if I'm going natural hair with a shaved head, I'm staying in my sweatpants for as long as possible. And that's my, and then the morning routine is that everyone gets to do things, make me look like my character. And I just get to sit there. It's a really nice chat to everyone that I love. And Brennan, I love Brennan. He's one of my best friends and he's an actor too. And I know that he knows that just being in the hair and makeup trailer is the best place to start your morning. It's your safe space. It's the people you want to be with who really see you raw at the beginning and at the end of the day. So it's always special.
You have a comfortable costume too. You're lucky. You don't have to like wear anything like heels and everything else.
Okay, good. So true. But skinny jeans?
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
This is what I was trying to explain to somebody one day. I was like, luckily Zach, who was our trailer AD, was so fun and chill. And he was like, you'd give me like a 10-minute, like, hey, put your jeans on. Because people don't realize that these clothes sit in a trailer overnight. So in the winter, in the morning, the first thing when I'm there, the skinny jeans are ice cold and you're putting them on your bare legs and they're like hugging you and suffocating you. And I can't, it's so hard to sit in. So that's my only complaint. But I have done a show where I was wearing 6.5-inch heels and that caused blisters. So you're right. I'd opt in for the skinny jeans, maybe.
Fair. All right. Samuel asked, and I know we talk a lot about this on the stream, but is Wayne a good or bad father? What's your top criticism and praise of him as a character? As a character, not the actor. We know you like the actor, but
is he a good or a bad father? I think is such a hard question. Look, I'm 25 years old. I don't have any children of my own. I don't even have any furry pets of my own. So I don't know what it's like. And I do look at my parents, and they've got 3 kids who are completely different, and they've parented us all very differently. And we can all judge parents, but I think at the end of the day, for the most part, the good parents are doing what they think is in their kids' best interest. And I do think Wayne thinks that. I do. Like, I, as Romy, want to believe. We see that scene of him in episode 1 where M's calling him, and you see him just sad with his drink. And I think that really humanized him in my eyes, because I never saw that being shot. I was always a little scared of Wayne, I'm not going to lie. But then as a viewer, you see, you're forgetting, we're all forgetting as viewers, and we're all taking in the fact that like his daughters were also there the day that his wife passed away. Not only that, they were with her, they were driving, they were semi-responsible in some ways in his eyes. Like, this is a family who's been through a lot of trauma. So a good or a bad father, I think I don't have the answer for that. I think that's really up for interpretation. My top criticism, though, is that his communication is not great at all with his daughters or with his staff. Sometimes I think he doesn't know how to express how he really feels, and that's why it comes out through anger sometimes. But my praise of him is that he's going, like, Wayne Cypress is going through a lot. He's got a lot on his plate right now. He literally, one of my favorite lines in the show is when people die, Ken, they die. Which is in episode 1 when he's talking to the mayor. And I just think it's brilliant because it's true. You're watching this man deal with something that's never happened before. And then on top of that, he's mourning his wife. He's trying to calm everyone down. His daughter's sick, and he doesn't know that she's doing a little bit better right now in terms of that. So I just think my praise of him is that he's trying his best, but my criticism is that maybe his best right now isn't good enough. I don't know.
Maybe he needs anger management.
Yes. I think the Cypress family as a whole would all majorly benefit from anger management and a whole lot of therapy.
Yes.
A lot.
A lot of family therapy.
I'm not even trying to sound correct, though, with saying, like, I don't know if he's a bad or a good father, but I think as kids, as somebody who's not a parent, it is hard to take the judgment out when I really want to believe that he is doing.
But, that scene in the police station when he was yelling at Dana in front of her kid, he was really like disrespecting her in a way. I thought.
No, you're right. It's also it's a cute, sad moment when Cooper kind of says to M, "Don't worry, they'll stop fighting soon." It's like just showing these 2 kids constantly see this thing, and I think that's another thing of like, at what point do you protect the kids from seeing certain things, and at what point should they be exposed? So you're right. He is a great grandpa, though. The scenes of the 2 of them together are very cute. But he did lose.
To be fair, though, the grandkid ran away, so
That's true, Jamie. That's true.
As I said, last time I went.
Through 4 episodes, I don't even think Wayne's a good person. Let alone, I'm not worried about the parent side of it. I don't think he's a good person. I am not a fan of Wayne at all through 4 episodes.
I have to be honest, I'm not a fan of him either.
That's why I said we've kind of been talking about his parenting a lot.
Okay, no, as I said, he lost Cooper. You're not. Look, him as a sheriff is a whole other level too, though. Like, what's going on with the revivers and the way he's handling it is not okay. Is he maybe trying his best in his way? Sure, but it's very sad. Maybe the answer is obvious because it's sad that his daughter can't turn to the person she needs the most during the time that she needs him most. But then as a youngest child, I think about how many times I've turned to my siblings instead of my parents during certain situations because it's been easier. But I don't disagree. I don't think Wayne is necessarily the greatest person. I just think he doesn't know any better. And we're forgetting that he's missing his. That's just one thing that really pulls on my heartstrings with Wayne is he's missing Patty. He's missing his second half. He's missing his whole heart. So
Sure.
doesn't excuse, but it explains.
Explains his anger too, right? He's angry she died.
And I think he has a hard time looking at his daughters. I saw that theory online and I was like, wow, you're right. Like Em was driving. Dana was there.
Right.
It's hard.
That's true. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's true.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure we talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Now we have something else new to discuss. Let me get a couple more from the chat here. Jen says, have you changed any lines or gone off script that's been kept in the scene? Any lines impromptu or gone off script that's been kept in a scene?
Ooh, Mel, yes. Mel's the best improver ever. She crushes it every time. There was a quick impromptu line in in this episode that's coming out this week. I don't know if they kept it in. I wonder. I don't think they did because I've seen a bit of it. But there were a few things in terms of like when people are kind of improving with you improv back with them a bit. But I'll say, without giving away too much, I think Em is kind of a person of few words too. So in terms of that, a lot of her communication is also through her body language. But I did change certain orders, and Aaron and Luke and the writing team are really great with just like if it feels a bit more comfortable switching 2 or 3 words, go for it. But sometimes on set they need it to be exactly what the network approved of.
Fair enough. I'm trying to rush and get through the chat so we can get through everybody. Mackie says, have you ever met another person named Romy? You share a name with my cousin. Well, that's the second part of that. So do you know somebody else named Romy?
Well, now I do. No, I do actually know a few Romys. I know another Romy who's an actor with an I at the end of her name. I know one of my brother's best friends growing up and my parents' best friend's kid. His name is Romy, and I think that's what inspired my name. And now my brother's friend just named his daughter Romy.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's see. Scarlett also asked, before Rhodey plays punk rock, do you like or relate to punk music, or that spirit does M?
So as Romy, I had never gone super, super into punk rock other than when I was lifting weights at the gym. Because lifting weights, that sounds so intense. But seriously, when I am working out, I do listen to some hardcore music because it gets your adrenaline pumping. But M does relate to punk a lot, and with that I found a lot of relations. It's actually inspired me. Somebody asked me the other day if I could post my playlist for M, make it public, which I think it is. I just need to figure out how to share my Spotify, but I think that will give you a great insight into the music that both affects Romy and M. I have a really long playlist for her, and it's interesting.
Look forward to, I was going to say that, to listening to that. There we go. Laurie.
Very dark.
Laurie.
Oh, yes. What made you want to become an actor?
Such a good question. I think just like naturally when you're a kid and you're watching people on screen who are doing these fascinating things that you're looking up to, it's kind of crazy to not be like, I want to be one of them. Or watching Hannah Montana, I was like, I want to be Miley Cyrus. I kind of want it to be Miley Cyrus. I want it to be Lily. I want it to be the best friend. So I just think I've always wanted to be a part of that world. And then I kind of fell into it accidentally. But now I fell into it because I was a very shy kid and my parents put me into theater camp just to hope that it would make me talk. And I got scouted by my agent there, and that kind of started everything. But right now,
was it hard for you though, being shy? Was it hard?
See, why I've always loved acting, and it's funny because I'm not super shy anymore. I'm sure my parents slightly regret that one. But it was more just like, I think that was it, is they saw me in a light they've never seen me before. And I think I usually say, like, as Romy, which then I laugh because I'm sure my family would really disagree, but I'm not a super emotional person. I'm not a super like talkative person about my emotions. But then when it comes to playing a character and I can kind of mask and feel things and just not be seen as Romy and people are looking at me as something else. I've always just felt safer to express these things. And I think just as an adult, when I turned 16 is kind of when everything shifted for me in the industry and I started getting more intense auditions and stories. And I think that's when I really took a step back and was like, I want to be an actor because I want to tell stories. I want to represent people that need to be represented. I want to be a part of conversations that aren't easy to have. And as cheesy as it is, I want to be telling stories. I want to be a part of the art.
That's great.
So I think that really took a turn for me at 16 when I started, because then my parents were also like not happy. They were just concerned with some of the things I was auditioning for, with the content of it. And then they asked me like, what do you really feel? And when I explained it to them, I think it was just like, oh, she's not just having fun anymore.
So how old were you when you started?
I started acting when I was 12.
Oh,
I'm now 25, so it's been over half my life.
okay. Wow. That's great.
AJ? AJ?
Wow.
So, what would your dream role be? Whether it be a character that's already been played out there that you would want to do in a remake, or just a general type of character that you want to play?
Okay, I know this sounds cheesy, but M kind of is a dream role in a whole lot of things. I did say this to Aaron and Luke, and I got really emotional on that set at the end. Why she's a dream character is because I got to be a part of those difficult conversations. I got to learn new things about real life things. I got to research. I got to really dive into something. And then on top of that, I got to have the fun stuff. Kind of like what you said, we got to have 2 scoops in one. And I just think that stuff's really special. But besides M, because I do want to really acknowledge she is a dream come true, I want to play like an Honora type of character. Again, that's a movie that just caused a lot of conversation and made people talk about things. And I think that's just really cool. So I think that's a character, like the girl with the dragon tattoo. Just kind of what I took a bit of inspiration from for M. So I think just anything like a really, excuse my language, a badass woman is just always cool.
Well, I know we only have a few minutes left. Let's get a couple quick ones in. I did want to ask you really quick though. Do they intend, I'm hoping and assuming that they're intending to continue more than one season with this show, but I know obviously the comic book has a like finite end. Yeah, is there anything you can say about that? Do you know how far they have the story, I guess, developed, if that makes sense?
Keep watching at 10 p.m. on Sci-Fi every week, please, everyone. We want a season 2. We really do. There is so much more of the story to tell, and the most important thing that our viewers can do is just keep watching at 10 p.m. every week, and then maybe rewatching on Peacock, or if you're in Canada, CTV or Crave, or binge in Australia. Just anything. But the 10 p.m. viewers are really, we really appreciate the commitment and just watching. But we're hoping to tell more. Yes.
Matthew says, will you be joining Aaron if you were asked down in San Diego Comic-Con? So we don't know. All right. That's fair.
I would love to.
That's fair. Let's see. Justin had a couple. Let's get another one of his. If a deceased relative of yours was revived, what would be the first thing you would do with them? I don't know.
Really crazy question. A part of me kind of like, I don't know. I would be like, are you down to, like, there's a lot of coyotes in my area. I would be like, are you down to go fight a coyote or something? Like, that's what I would do. Is the coyotes in my area are so beautiful and pretty, and I want to go pet them and touch them, but obviously I can't. So I think I would just be like, can we just please go play with a coyote? Like, come on, it's not the same for them. Like, if they get bit, they're fine. They're fine. I would honestly do that. The coyotes I was on a walk last night, beautiful coyote walked past me, and I was like,
wow,
can't do anything.
I was going to say, Matt, I lost Matthew's question. I had asked earlier, did you give any advice to Flora and Hudson as children actors?
Right. Not that the two of them need any advice because they're so talented and professional and amazing. But I was lucky enough to answer a bunch of their questions. And also their parents are just super awesome and supportive. And we talked a lot about just growing up in the industry and kind of when to know your boundaries and when to say no and when to say yes and when to prioritize yourself in school and your friends. So we did have some nice conversations. They're also just like the most mature, cool, down-to-earth kids ever.
Dog says, does Romy have a favorite giant monster? I'm not sure what exactly that means, but a favorite. I know I know he likes kaiju monsters, so maybe that's why that's phrased that way.
Oh,
Yeah, what kind of monsters do you like? How's that?
when you say monster, I always think of the green monster from the Berenstain Bears. I don't know why. It's the whole. Do you guys know what I'm talking about by any chance? There's a whole episode about jealousy, and it's the green-eyed monster. So I think whenever I hear the word monster or I hear jealousy, I always say there's a green monster. So I think that's kind of my favorite monster because I reference it the most in my life.
All right, fair. Samuel says, what type of horror movies scare you the most?
Psychological thrillers, the ones that like can really happen in real life. They won't, but a part of you is kind of like, can I, like, is that a thing? Like Midsummer, crazy. Like that stuff is just like you're unsettled and just freaked out. That scares me probably more than the monsters and stuff, just because I've seen how those are made.
Do you have a couple extra minutes? I know we've hit the hour, but we've got a couple more left.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Let's go quick. Whoops, sorry, wrong thing. She was commenting on it. I meant to click Jen there. Which actor would be a dream to work with?
Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one. Right now, I'd say Caitlin Dever. Is just always really high on my list. She's just so cool. Zoe Kravitz, another crazy actor I would love to work with. Mikey Madison. I'm just referencing Honora, but those are all definitely dream actors. Rachel McAdams, Sterling K. Brown. Like all of these people are just the coolest ever. So everyone.
All right, we'll take one more from Justin. Is it traumatizing at all playing an undead girl, and did you have nightmares from it?
No, which now that I'm wondering, is that maybe more creepy that I didn't have nightmares and I wasn't traumatized by it? That's kind of, I'm a little sad for myself. No, honestly, specific nightmares, no, but I know that we did give somebody on set a nightmare with the barn scene. That's all. I won't embarrass, but we did give somebody a nightmare. I can't say I had any. I feel like my specific nightmares are usually with like living more than being undead. It would be like, oh my god, I showed up to work without a shirt on. Like that's my nightmare.
That makes sense. All right, let's do one more, guys, and then we're gonna have to let Romy go and not keep her all night. Wait, I lost it where it went. Okay, Matthew asked, how awkward was it watching the couch scene with your family? I assume that he means the makeout scene. I'm gonna guess.
Oh my gosh, I even tweeted something being like, watching this with my parents, what now? Actually, weirdly enough, not that weird. I've seen weirder scenes with my parents, and I thought they would be a bit uncomfortable, but my mom was sitting like this at the screen. She just loves Em and Rhodey. She just loves Em and Rhodey so much. It's hilarious. And then my dad, I just chose not to really look at him, and we just chose not to think about it. I think a part of him is just like, I don't really want to see that because it's awkward and weird. But then a part of him, something about my dad I'll really say and I want to emphasize is like, even the first time I ever had to do something a bit more mature and adult on camera, and I brought it by, like I mentioned it to my dad a bit, and I thought he was going to be a little spooked, and he was like, that's okay. As long as you're comfortable and you're happy and you're safe, then it's your job and you do what you need to do. Like you do what you're happy with. And he's very supportive and tries not to make a big thing of it. And he loves TV and movies. So he's very supportive, but I'm awkward and I'm the one that's like, don't look. And they're the ones that are telling me to grow up. So that's the perspective of watching yourself making out with your parents.
That's fair. All right. Well, I know we've been a while. Let me just ask you really quick. Is there anything at all that you can tell us about next week that you're allowed to tease without giving something away before we let you go?
Oh my gosh, I can tell you that I work with Ibrahim because they let out a still and I was really excited. So you're going to get to see Em be in a setting where she's not always and get to work with people that she doesn't always get to work with. You get to see Em take on a whole lot and deal with everything. And with that, you also get to kind of see everyone panic about the person they love the most and watch it all unfold. And believe me, there will be many answers answered, and there will still be many questions that you're questioning by the end of episode 5. And that's the joy of it all.
Yeah. Sounds
Thank you
exciting.
so much for your time. Thank you for staying a whole hour. We appreciate it. And,
Yes, thank you, Romy.
Thank you, Romy. It was great
For
speaking
staying.
to you.
Really
and meeting
fun.
you.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you guys so much. This was the best time.
It was a lot of fun. So
Glad.
thanks.
You were nervous for no reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
it was good.
I was
Yeah, you
nervous.
were great.
First live is done, and it was the best time. So thank you, Jamie, Laurie, and AJ. Seriously.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Right.
you. Take care,
Bye-bye.
Romy.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day or a good
Thank
night. I guess I
you.
don't know where you're at. It's getting night here.
I'm going to bed now. It's my bedtime.
Oh,
All right, great. Thanks so
So,
much.
guys.
hi.
Good night, Romy.
Bye-bye. Good night. And for everyone else, please make sure you join us again on Friday at 11. We'll be talking about this week's episode that's coming on Thursday, I guess. So
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so that'll be
Yeah,
back.
we have it on Fridays. Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be great. But before then, Karen and AJ and I have our other podcast at 10. So yeah, that's the next
Yeah,
thing.
we'll
So
be back
come
at
back
10.
in an hour. Yes, which we'll be talking about Revival too, though, to be fair. We talk about all different shows on it. So everybody come back in an hour. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good
Bye, Romy. Thank you.
night.